Okay, put me on. Welcome back to our 17th Economic Development Conference. I'm going to bring you a person who's so enthusiastic, has a lot of pizzazz, Marcia Griffin, CEO and founder of Home Free USA, a great partner, a great friend, and a mentor. Marcia, take it away. Well, thank you so much, Faith. It's just a pleasure to be with all of our viewers and our listeners today. And this is a special opportunity for you to meet and welcome a wonderful, wonderful person, our Brian Montgomery over at HUD. Brian is a friend of the people. He's a friend of counseling organizations. He's just a friend across the board. And we are so happy, Brian, to have you today and to hear some of your words of wisdom to kind of keep us going forward. So I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of give us a welcome, and then I have a couple of questions for you.
Sure. Well, first off, I want to make sure y'all can hear and see me okay. Which the way everybody's smiling, I'll take that as a yes. So Marcina, always good to hear and see you, albeit virtually. Faith, look forward to seeing you in person again as well. And I appreciate the warm welcome and introduction, albeit virtually. Needless to say, this has been an extraordinary week. And when we have the full results, we all may need a little more time to wrap our heads around what all this will mean for the future. 2020, of course, has been an extraordinary year, seemingly wanting to keep that designation up until and including the very last few moments. So who knows what may happen next. But let me focus for a moment, if I may, on the theme and the goal here, which is success for all Americans in our communities across the nation. I first want to thank and commend the National Asian American Coalition and the National Diversity Coalition for a number of things. One, your outstanding commitment to economic development, for helping people directly and indirectly through their businesses, for helping to revitalize our communities and our country, particularly in the wake of the coronavirus, and for the work you do to educate homeowners and potential homeowners, and finally for providing resources to keep families and their small and mid-sized businesses alive and well. This administration and HUD have been incredibly focused on ensuring, first and foremost, our communities have what they need to make it through this crisis, and just as importantly, to thrive once again once we get to the other side. We have seen tremendous resilience by the American people. Our businesses and communities have been led through this crisis by our citizens' innovation, their flexibility and leadership in using technology, and most importantly, by their resolve and unwillingness to bow to adversity and their uncanny ability to see through to the ultimate goal. One of the key objectives of HUD and the administration before, during, and if we're still here after this crisis, has been to provide immediate relief and liquidity in the face of the unforeseen, unprecedented circumstances. We all understand the health and economic setbacks as a result of the coronavirus are no fault of the people suffering the consequences. We've worked to ensure that no one loses their home as a result of the coronavirus. Another objective has been to use policy and the limited resources of public programs to the maximum extent possible, which requires us to incentivize private investment in underserved and neglected communities. Whether it's through HUD's community development block grants, our lending programs, our extensive work on disaster recovery, opportunity zones, or funding and flexibilities to help people adjust to the coronavirus, our goal has been to better leverage what we do with the private sector and their capital and their investments. In 2019, the president signed an executive order establishing the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, and the White House Initiative on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. The goal is to broaden access to AAPI employers and communities, economic resources and communities. The Department of Commerce has a lead on this through the Minority Business Development Agency. It coordinates with other federal agencies to empower AAPIs to improve the quality of their lives, raise the standard of living of their families and their communities, and more fully participate in our economy. The initiative advises on the implementation and coordination of federal programs as they relate to AAPI access to economic resources and opportunities. And HUD is an important piece of this initiative. While Asian Americans constitute a low percentage of FHA single-family loans, 3% and trending lower, HUD and FHA have many and multiple ways to help the AAPI community. I'll give you one fine example, which is a project completed in 2011, a partnership with the Koreatown Youth and Community Center. Now, this may have been one of the first projects in Los Angeles to combine the low-income housing tax credit with FHA multifamily programs. It was even more complicated than that because it involved an acquisition done during the 2008 recession. But what's important is this project preserved affordability for the low-income Asian and Latino residents. Many low-income AAPI immigrants live in privately owned projects that are coming up on affordability covenants and HUD contracts that are expiring. Especially today with the intense pressure on renters due to the pandemic, it's crucial that these expiring use and covenant projects are preserved so that the pandemic crisis will not massively add to the homelessness crisis already in LA and throughout other parts of the country. Capital will be needed to acquire properties and to preserve affordability. Well, our mission here at HUD consists of supporting the availability of affordable housing, including rental assistance in both public housing and privately owned multifamily Section 8 housing. It includes increasing opportunities for families to achieve home ownership through FHA-insured single-family mortgages. It also includes assisting the finance of multifamily properties that are an important source of affordable housing units and healthcare facilities in underserved areas through FHA-backed loans. Central to this mission is also serving as a source of counter-cyclical strength within the housing finance market, as was evidenced during the financial crisis, when our endorsements as a percentage of the purchase market rose dramatically. The majority of the focus at FHA is on single-family, first-time, low to moderate income, and minority home buyers, and our emphasis on sustainable home ownership. This is where HUD's housing counselors come in and provide an invaluable service in making sure FHA borrowers are ready for the responsibility of home ownership. HUD also provides assistance through its Community Development Block Grant Program, Emergency Solutions Grants, and Home Investment Partnership Program. This funding in turn provides opportunities for communities to leverage those dollars. One great example of leveraging CDBG funds is the Section 108 Loan Guarantee Program. Section 108 provides CDBG recipients with enormous flexibility to finance important economic development projects, allowing HUD to assist state and local governments in their efforts to spur private investment activity. Section 108 grantees can leverage their annual grant allocation to access low-cost, flexible financing for economic development, for housing, public facilities, and even infrastructure projects. The flexibility repayment terms of the 108 Loan Guarantee Program make it ideal for layering with other financing sources, including new market tax credits, low-income housing tax credits, and opportunity zone equity investments. Together, HUD's programs help protect our most vulnerable populations, including seniors, persons with disabilities, and low-income families. Through the CARES Act, Congress provided HUD with additional funding and authorities to assist struggling homeowners, renters, and owners. Our single-family program immediately provided forbearance to FHA borrowers to pause or reduce their payments for up to 6 months, with an additional 6 months available if requested. The ability to request that forbearance has been extended to the end of the calendar year. FHA also implemented a streamlined set of home retention measures to help homeowners with FHA-insured single-family mortgages so they have viable options to bring their mortgage current at the end of their COVID-19 forbearance. The CARES Act included relief for multifamily renters and properties insured by the FHA. These include HUD's Section 8 or Section 202 contracts for the elderly and Section 811 contracts for low-income persons with disabilities. The Act provided $1 billion for owners and sponsors of properties receiving project-based rental assistance and for income loss gap coverage on the tenant-paid portion of rent and for supplemental expenses associated with the coronavirus response. The CARES Act included $9 billion for CDBG, ESG, and home funds. The allocation process was pushed forward at an unprecedented pace so that the time from HUD's action plan review to money in their hands was sharply reduced. HUD has also gone above and beyond the flexibilities provided by the CARES Act and issued numerous waivers for CDBG, home, and homelessness programs in order to help grantees use funds more rapidly address current urgent needs. I should mention as one example of the impact of HUD's work within the Asian American community, funds planned for usage under the CARES Act include CDBG coronavirus or CV funds in the greater Seattle area, which will address AAPI housing and non-housing community revitalization needs. And these include the following: the City of Seattle CDBG CV funding for the Interim Community Development Association. This is being done for rental assistance, subsistence payments, and even business assistance payments, CD funding for nonprofit organizations. This is the Refugee Women's Alliance and Neighborhood House, efforts within the AAPI community. And part of this is a $1.4 million overall program allocation. Seattle also provided numerous working capital grants in response to COVID to help businesses throughout the city to help better stabilize the community. And our records indicate that AAPI businesses have been assisted in the Rainier Valley and Northgate neighborhoods. In King County, Washington, CDBG CV funded rental assistance programs for South King County, which is likely to have a high COVID infection rate within the AAPI population, and much needed emergency public services, including rental housing and even business assistance. There's also a group of smaller South King County CDBG CV entitlement cities with AAPI residents that are developing COVID-related public services, emergency business assistance, and those who lose their job. Day moratorium instability toolkit. Encourage housing authorities and landlords to plan and implementation process. Their income-based rent payments can be decreased and housing subsidies can be increased accordingly. The CARES Act also provided HUD with additional and broad waiver authority and flexibilities. We had ability to focus on what is most important during this time, and that is the health and safety of their residents. I'd be remiss if I didn't highlight some of the work here at HUD being done by Asian Americans as part of HUD's leadership. In FY20, HUD awarded $31.5 million across 89 projects to Asian Pacific businesses. This is more than 3% of our contracts. And HUD also has a number of Asian Americans in key leadership positions who are making an enormous difference, including David Chow, our CIO, and Artie Chin, who's heading up the FHA modernization effort. Well, this team has been key during this national emergency, drastically improving our ability to respond effectively, to reduce burdens, and to increase effectiveness and efficiency. The prime contractor for much of that IT modernization effort is also Asian American. In fact, she leads a woman-owned small business which has served HUD since 1999. That particular company grew from 2 people in 1999 to more than 200 today, maintaining FHA's IT systems. Their work during the coronavirus has made an enormous contribution to HUD's ability to serve those populations. We have utilized HUD's new IT platform, known as FHA Catalyst, but they help code to respond to new needs and adapt our systems to the digital needs of the current mortgage market. Another woman-owned small business, led by an Asian American woman, is a prime contractor for HUD's Section 184 Indian Housing Loan Guarantee Program. This program helps American Indian, Alaska Native families, tribes, or tribally designated housing entities obtain affordable home mortgages from private lenders. Because of the firm's subject matter expertise in housing and credit modeling across multiple agencies, it has developed a new cash flow model for FHA, conducted data and program analytics, and provided budget support and program guidance to help us model the costs associated with guaranteeing the loans endorsed under this program. By the way, all $1.2 trillion. The small business has developed a model that closely aligns with the program's objectives and mission, which was included in the president's annual budget. Well, there are other stories, but in short, HUD has recognized the professionalism, dedication, and positive values of our Asian American leaders within HUD who are helping to accomplish our goals as one team. So thank you for all you're doing through NAAC and NDC. For many reasons, I am honored and pleased to join you all, and I am looking forward to our continued work together. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer a few questions.
Wonderful. Well, I want our audience to know that our Deputy Secretary, Brian Montgomery, not only is he well liked and well loved and admired by the Asian American community, but by all people. He is just such a great person, a person with a passion, a person with a purpose, and a person that's doing a great job at HUD. So, Brian, we appreciate you so much. Let me just ask you a couple of questions. And of course, we can go on for a while, so Faith may have to stop us. But one thing that we especially love is your appreciation and dedication for counseling. With the Office of Housing Counseling at HUD, obviously with NAAC and with Home Free USA, my company, we work together to empower homeowners and home buyers. Why do you think counseling is so important today more than ever?
Well, thank you, Marcy, and also thank you for your very kind comments. Look, I was FHA commissioner previously in the Bush administration and for over 6 months of the Obama administration. And this was, of course, during the aftermath of the housing crisis. I also, at the time, as I do today, sit on the board of NeighborWorks America. So I got to see firsthand from many different angles the value that housing counseling plays. Not just in the traditional sense of helping families prepare themselves for the largest investment of their life, but more so helping them keep a budget. Because as we all know, the real work begins after you close on the home.
Right.
But a huge exclamation point was placed on all that effort during the throes of the after the housing collapse. And even today, when you have many families who've requested forbearance and are looking at their options as they come out of forbearance. So between, again, NeighborWorks, only because I sit on their board, but all the other intermediaries and all the other 1,700 organizations out there that perform a fantastic job providing housing counseling. You can't put a price tag on the effort that they put forth and the value that it gives to folks and communities, in particular, lower income, first time home buyers, persons of color, families, again, looking to buy their first home. So it's a long way of saying, consider me a big advocate.
Well, you've always been a big advocate, and we so appreciate that because we know that our work is so valuable to our homeowners, our home buyers, and of course, now our renters across America. People need they just need some guidance, even if when the mortgage companies and your FHA lenders and all, even the services, when they think that they have done a lot, so often we hear, Brian, that really these servicers speak another language. We don't really understand what they're saying. We need people who have compassion, and through your support and HUD support, organizations like NAAC, Home Free USA, and hundreds and thousands of others are being able to provide that. I want you, before I get to my next question, I do want to mention to you that we are really seeing an uptick in homeowners calling us whose forbearances are about to expire. They're not sure. They didn't know that they were supposed to call their lender. We really do need to put even more focus on that. And I'm very happy that out in California, certainly with Faith and the National Diversity Council, there's been a real big focus, and we want a bigger focus across the country. We do not want another foreclosure crisis like we had 8 years or so ago. We need to stabilize our people, stabilize our community, and we just appreciate anything that you're going to do for us and with us. So that's just kind of a statement. Another question, and this is just a side question here. What do you like most about your job at HUD?
How much time do I have?
Okay, well, that's good that you stay alive. We're happy to hear that.
I'll compress what's a lengthy story into just a few paragraphs. So I first got involved in housing almost 30 years ago, working for then Governor George W. Bush at the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. And look, for all of us who are involved in housing, it gets into your blood, it gets into your chemistry, and you get an enormous amount of satisfaction helping families, whether it's to buy a home, helping them get a roof over their head if they're homeless, or helping provide them some subsidy for rental housing, helping revitalize communities. And it's something I think, it's one of those issues that I think Republicans and Democrats can find much more common ground upon. So that's why when I served as FHA commissioner previously, I was the first one to ever do that under 2 administrations, I believe. But then when I came back to do that job again, I think I was the first one to do it 3 times under 3 different administrations, or rather 2 times under 3 different administrations. And people said, Montgomery, have you lost your head? I said, no, I love the mission. I love traveling the country and meeting all facets of this housing industry, whether it's home ownership or rental housing or even hospitals or the nursing homes that FHA helps fund. So, and just working here with a wonderful career staff at HUD, many of which who were here when I came back, the second time. Obviously, many had retired as well. So, look, I encourage folks to do a stint, working in the government. Like me, come in and out of the private sector and spend some time in helping people who need our help or providing the ability to buy their first home. You just can't put a price on it. But I think everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Well, no, this is great, and this is what we need from HUD. Talk to us just for a minute, and Faith, look, we can just kind of go on forever, so you all let us know when we need to bring everything to a close. But I definitely want you, Brian, if you would just tell us a little bit about what's happening around technology at HUD. I know this is really big for you. This is our world. So talk to us a little bit about some of the technology initiatives that you have incorporated or initiated.
Well, I would say there's probably been nothing in terms of a technology initiative at HUD that runs a close second to what this FHA IT modernization effort. This is something I was advocating for when I was commissioner last time, and certainly when I came back this time. And as we came out of the government shutdown in February of last year, I was pleasantly surprised when Congress gave us the down payment of 20 million toward what we need, which is ultimately 80 million. They subsequently given us another 20 million and soon the third tranche of 20 million, leaving us just the final tranche of 20 million. That team, again, led by David Chow, Artie Chen, and Dana Way, now the FHA commissioner, and John Garvin, her number two. What they've done in a year is just amazing. And none of us knew a year ago we would be facing a global pandemic. But just in terms of FHA, moving to an all digital architecture, moving away from paper, by having the claims module that allowed us originally just to do supplemental claims, but ultimately all claims from a digital standpoint versus what we all know previously had been a paper-based 17-month process. So we like to say it's gone from 17 months to 17 minutes down to 17 seconds. Could you imagine with this pandemic and all the forbearance and the partial claims resulting from that? It could be hundreds of thousands. Imagine if we had to do that with paper documents. So now you can do all of that electronically. And we have a new appraisal portal. The number of improvements we've made, including a new automated underwriting system. And by the way, taking that technology and deploying it now in our multifamily house, and also deploying it in our 184 Native American Loan Guarantee Program. So Congress, they're always a little suspicious when they give you a lot of money for technology. But whenever they call and want an update, I said, let's go right now. Because it has been such a great story. And I'm not taking credit for it. I'm just one piece of the puzzle. But it's been a tremendous and way overdue success story for FHA. We're not done yet. We hope to wrap up by mid next year. But there's been so many improvements, way long overdue, which, by the way, will not only provide savings to the industry and everyone who supports that, but to us as well. And I think ultimately will make that 80 million price tag look small. That's how big the savings will be moving to this platform.
Oh, that's great. That is wonderful. Well, look, we look forward to being a part, meaning the counseling organizations, the nonprofit organizations that's on the ground around the country, the public health authorities, public housing authorities, and more. We just want to say thank you so much for all of your work. Look, we could go on. I don't know if I should turn this on back over to you, Faith. I had another question about opportunity zones, but look, you're wonderful. We appreciate your being with us today at our NAAC conference. We look forward to doing great things with you and for you. Thank you so much. Faith, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marcia. Deputy Secretary Brian Montgomery, I just want to thank you personally and to all your staff. Us being a HUD-approved counseling agency, and Marcia and I've been helping people since for 18 years. Marcia, I know you're a little older than me. You're probably working longer than me. But this has been our passion. So I just have a quick question. The HUD receives CARES Act funding that will assist income-eligible residents impacted by COVID-19 to remain in their homes. It will also help renters facing eviction cover housing court costs. In October, HUD announced that you will insure homeowners who need assistance that can obtain to new mortgage payment forbearance through December 31st. Do you think all of this measure and the funding that HUD received through CARES Act is sufficient for homeowners that got affected with COVID-19?
Well, I'll obviously just speak to FHA's portion of this. Although I would say early on and even today, we were very much attached to the hip with FHFA, CFPB, and other federal housing entities. But Congress did their part. You know, even though FHA early on provided some of its normal forbearance guidelines that we do during natural disasters, typically hurricanes, then the CARES Act obviously added more to that. So sort of the story a lot of people aren't aware of this unless you really follow FHA closely is over the last several years, we've been able to build up our reserves, you know, and increase our capital ratio, which by the way, the new one should be out in a week. It comes out every November the 15th, which falls on a Sunday this year. We expect to have it out probably a week from today. But last year, that ratio was 4.84. That's the highest it's been and had been since 2007. We introduced a new metric called claims paying capability, which means we had about $109 billion in reserves. I think what you will hear next week will show equally strong abilities. I say all that because we never knew, obviously, something like this would happen, just like we never really knew that a housing collapse would happen, although there were signs of it, you know, 12 years ago, 12, 13 years ago. The long way of saying because of that, FHA is well positioned to handle all of these borrowers who are currently in forbearance, those who will get back on their feet, come out of forbearance, who will need to request a partial claim, or others who still need more time to get on their feet, and we'll be able to use some of our traditional tools, our loss mitigation waterfall, again, to help them better as they get back on their feet. Because as the president said, and Secretary Carson and others, the last thing we want is people to worry about having a roof over their head. So I want to commend the FHA team, Commissioner Dana Wade, obviously the secretary, and everything that the whole team has done, both politicals and career, working extremely long hours. And I'm just speaking for HUD. You could say the same to our friends at HHS and USDA and VA for you know coming together all remotely, right? Just in the blink of an eye, you're working remotely. Some of the largest banks and servicers are working remotely. Almost all the government's working remotely, yet we were able to keep the oil flowing, if you will. So FHA has, you know, done some other things in recognition of social distancing related to appraisals, re-verification of employment, things of that nature. Worked very closely with the housing advocates on the rental side, certainly on the industry, on the single family side. So we continue, you know, to monitor it, continue to get reports daily about number of borrowers in forbearance. We're all hoping that you know this winter is better in terms of COVID cases, but all we can control is our portion of that, which is FHA, and we'll continue to do what we need to do to make sure people don't need to worry about having a roof over their head.
Well, Deputy Secretary, thank you so much for taking your busy time to speak to us today. We have a lot of homeowners, first-time home buyers, renters that are watching that are depending on the services of HUD and through our HUD approved counseling agency. So this ends the session of HUD and the home ownership. And Miss Marcia, as always, you've always been my queen, and you've seen this since 2004. We're going to continue. We're not stopping, sadly, and we're going to control this, that this foreclosure will not happen as bad during financial crisis. And I know we're seeing a lot now of these forbearances. People are wondering how are they going to get help, the access to inventory, the access to capital still are still there. So, but one homeowner at a time, one home buyer at a time. And thank you, Mr. Montgomery, for acknowledging the work of HUD approved counseling agencies. I know a lot of my counselors are listening and are watching, and so is Marcia's, and they always like to just say thank you to them because the work that they do. I personally thank all the HUD approved counseling agencies. Thank you all HUD employees, all the work that you do, and especially thank you Secretary Ben Carson and Deputy Assistant Brian Montgomery. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. And thanks to everyone out there listening for all the hard work they're doing, and more to come, as they say.
More to come, yes. So we're gonna have a 15-minute lunch break, but do not turn your Zoom just in case you get disconnected, or put it back on, because we have a treat for you. I'm gonna have a fire chat with Acting Controller Brian Brooks, and we're gonna talk about the National Reach Program, the LA Reach Program, and what OCC is doing to help the unbanked and underbanked. So we'll be right back. Thank you again, and maraming salamat.